Welcome to the 22nd installment of the Weekly Gym. Today I am talking about how to cure overload. You know, when you've got too much work to do and people keep giving you more work to do because they don't know how much work you're doing because you haven't told them, and then you have too much work to do plus even more too much work to do. Or perhaps you have a lot of work to do and you just keep starting new work because it's what you do. So neither of these things are a good thing. Some of them are externally generated issues and some of them are internally generated issues. So hell is other people and so is heaven. So other people might bring you pain, but also other people can be part of your salvation. We want to collaborate our way out of having too much work. We want to be able to do this by, well, that's the rest of the video, isn't it? So, here we have a little quote by Bluma Zagarnik. And it says basically that when we finish a task, we kind of space it off. We kind of forget that we did it. Not all of them, but most of them. And if we didn't do that, we would be stuck thinking, we'd retain perfect memory of everything we'd ever done, which would fill up our brains and probably drive us crazy. But when we don't stop doing something, we need to remember what we've done, which means that we need to retain it, which means that we need to be thinking about it. And so while we're doing that, it takes up our cognitive capacity, right? So intrusions, interruptions, work that we haven't completed, all those things end up becoming kind of the same thing. We're constantly thinking about other stuff that we're not doing, and that interrupts us, it distracts us, we don't focus on what we're doing, and we don't finish. So she said this in 1927, and because that's kind of blurry, I'll make it not blurry for you. 1927! So you can just imagine, I mean, she looks pretty serious, that if she were here today, she'd be like, I said this in 1927, and you people are still not in control of your overload. In fact, you're exacerbating it. You're making it happen on your own, right? So what do other people have to say about this now that we're older and enlightened? Well, we get people like this guy, like Wayne Dyer, who tells us that if we just believe it will work, we will see the opportunities and we will get such positive energy from that all the bad things will go away and we'll see only opportunities and no obstacles. And that's great because you really shouldn't be super morose and negative, but hope isn't a strategy and it's not even a tactic. In this case, hope is just succumbing to the Zeigarnik effect, saying, wash over me, Bluma, with your horrible curse. So we don't want to do that either. But we don't want to retreat into pessimism, but we don't want to just bathe in optimism bias. We don't want to be Pollyannas. We would like to actually be a little bit realistic about this. So around the same time as Bluma, a little bit after, is this French musician, Paul Lepol. And Paul tells you right offhand that the illusion of magic is why you engage in it. It's false certainty. And that's what happens when you do to-do lists, or when you, engage in a system of somebody else's design and say, this person told me that I should get the things done, or that I should scrum the hell out of this, or whatever. And you don't actually take time to practically incorporate this stuff into your own context. So we need to actually do something. We need to be a little bit practical about this. So practical usually comes from Deming. So there he is again. And Deming was telling us something quite expansive here. We're here to make another world. So that's not morose. That's not frightening. It's hopeful. That's a good thing, right? So we're here to make a world. We're here to improve. We are here to act with purpose, right? So when you're overloaded and you've got too much stuff to do, there is stuff you can control, your stuff, within your zone of control. And there's stuff that you can't control that comes from other people. Now, some of those things you can control, you're doing that with other people, like with your team or your colleagues or people you like. So there's your heaven is other people. And those other people that are pushing work onto you that you can't handle, that you don't have time for, that's annoying, that you know you're going to start and they're going to interrupt you again before you can even finish it. That's the hell. So we've got both ends of that sart coin that we want to deal with. So at the bottom here, we want to make another world where progressive rocker and noted Scottish person Derek Dick says so he just wants to crash into another world. And that's what happens when you don't take control of your work, right? So you just, the world is already indifferent to your purpose, to your overload. So you're ready to act with purpose. The world's like, hey, that's pretty cool, sunshine, go for it. So you can have an impact. Okay. You can have impact. We all have impact. I'm sure that Wayne Dyer would talk all about your impact. But the problem is that you will meet resistance to your impact, which is what impact is. Impact is something smashing into something else and causing change. Maybe positive change, maybe not so positive change, maybe painful change, maybe joyous change, but change is impact. It is the altering of a state from one thing to another, right? So if we're going into a situation where we're thinking, oh my God, if I just start a Kanban or visualize my work and limit my work in progress, everything will be fine. Well, it won't. because you live in reality, and reality, as the kids used to say, bites. So what do? So we do have to do things, and doing those things are visualizing work, limiting work in progress. But beyond that, we need to share results. We need to have a Kanban. We need to have an Obeya, a room where these results are shared, where we share our status, the things that are triggering us, our plans, things that are derailing us, things that are frustrating us, where we share those things visually with the other people on our team or who would give us work so that they have the most information possible to not overload us. Because most of the time, the jerks that are overloading you don't understand your actual real level of effort, level of current energy that you are expending. And they just simply don't know that they're overloading you, right? They might be super enthusiastic about things and like dumping tons of things on you, and they don't know that you have a capacity, and they're pushing it and they're overloading it. And we see that all the time. So we want to find ways to share the results and to collaborate with other people as much as we can, because when we share work, it's a lot easier for them to know what we're doing. And we tend to make decisions faster. We tend to get things done faster. We tend to achieve a higher level of quality because you have more than one pair of eyes looking at the product, whatever it is that you're creating, anything from a hamburger to the Constitution of the United States, that whatever it is, multiple eyes make better product. And then the last bit here is to let the work speak for itself. So let's take a look at an Obeya really quickly. Here's that Obeya again. So here we have the Turner Obeya from the Ruth Bader Ginsburg Hospital, which is almost complete in Brooklyn, New York. And what we see here is different areas of the room with different visualizations of things that are of acute interest to different people in this room, are of some interest to lots of people in this room and no interest to almost nobody in this room. So if the procurement agent over here is using the procurement board and the other people that are waiting for some of these things to be procured are watching that progress, they know when they can help. When people over here are putting up pictures of the construction that's currently happening, and let's just say for the heck of it that Sebastian here is in charge of this work that's being done, and that somebody else is going to need to do work later, they're watching the progress of his work and understanding problems that they might run into, and again, ways that they can help now because they can see what's going on. Calendars of interest to everyone, etc. We have an Obeya, a single place where all these people can see their work. And then you know what they don't do? They don't go ask them for things that are on any of these boards. Whole lot of punctuated words there. That's really important because that's where a lot of our overload comes from. It doesn't come from the work. Granted, there's a lot of work, but the more stuff we take on, the more questions we have to ask other people and the more questions they have to ask us. Now, that's cool for us, but we know that they're also taking on too much work, so they're asking us more questions than they would otherwise, and we're providing them with more answers. You can quickly see how not visualizing this work as a group slows you down, right? I wanted to tackle that first because you would expect that I'd be talking about personal Kanban or how to lower your personal overload. And what I'm saying very strongly is that it really helps if your personal overload is also approached collaboratively and you recognize that the way that the work is set up for everyone around you causes them to interrupt you and to increase your overload. So we'll jump very quickly here into a personal Kanban conversation. So personal Kanban doesn't mean just for people, it's for teams. There's a big board in that previous room that tracked the procurement process. That board, I think, had 18 different steps on it. It was a personal Kanban for group, right? So what we're doing here is we're taking Bluma Zygarnik's warning to heart. We want to do three things. We want to make sure that we're not overloading ourselves with current work. We want to make sure that we remember the work that we've already done. And we want to make sure that the work that we're about to do is organized so that we choose the right work at the right time. So very, very quickly here, this is like the world's fastest personal Kanban class. Right now, all that Zygarnik stuff, past projects, current projects, projects that are coming up, projects that are in flight that you've dropped, all of that stuff is in your head. And when you go to select the thing that you're going to do next, if you don't have that visualized, you will forget things you're already working on. You will forget the pain of things you've already finished, and you will conveniently ignore glaring things that you should be doing, and you'll be selecting things based on whim or based on whatever person is standing at your desk and yelling the loudest. So we have this huge blob of stuff in our heads, and we don't want to play the Zygarnik game, so we want to say, okay, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to make sure that we're not doing all of this work. So we're going to say that this is our doing column and that we have three things that we're going to allow in doing so that we can focus on them and finish it. So we move all of these tasks that we had before over into our options column, which means that we can choose them later to get our work done. So we'll just clear all but three of them out of here. And we'll say that we're working on these three things, right? And we will say that this column here is a waiting column. This column here is a done. And this problem here is a help me. All right. It says up here at the top, professionalism is not a solo sport. We've just built ourselves a Kanban here that does a couple things. So the first thing is it says right now we're only going to do these 3 things. We are going to focus on something and finish it. Focus and finish it. And now when we choose something from options, we now know that whatever we pull is going to be one of 3 things that we can be paying attention to. So they become much more important. What you start, the value of it for you goes way up. So you start to look at these things and you say, okay, right now, this task here is something I can get done because I know that Tony Ann is available today and I'll be able to ask her the questions that I need. So we're selecting work when we know that that other person that we would be interrupting normally, we already know that they're available. Maybe in our huddle, we've talked about that, but we know that they're available. Down here, we select a second task, and now we have, again, 3 tasks. We focus on them, and we finish them. Okay, focus and finish. Let's grab a couple more, and let's say right now, I finished this one, and it totally sucks. It was a terrible experience. I'll put that over so that I know, and the other people around me know, that we're going to talk about this, and this is an improvement event. This is a Kaizen event. All right. So what we've done here is we have given an opportunity for the work to speak for itself. We've found opportunities to collaborate. We've shared the results of our visualization of work and limiting our work in progress with our teammates. They are now better informed. They know when they can and can't interrupt us. We know when we can and can't interrupt them. And we visualize all of those things in one big room called an obeya. That is how we thwart overload.